Hey, fight fans, welcome back to Casuals MMA. I'm Alec. Alongside me is co-host Carlos. In this video, we'll be recapping UFC 261. Let's get right into it. So first fight, we had Carnelossi versus Leon Na. And Carnelossi got the amazing TKO win in the second. It was just a crazy fight. With all the fans there, it felt good. Literally every punch that was landed, the crowd was going apeshit. It was crazy. In the next fight, we had Jeff Molina, who got the unanimous decision win over Archie Long. Molina showed he had great hands, serious stand-up, great footwork. But respect to Archie Long, he had a hell of a chin. He could take some serious punches. It was definitely a fun fight to watch. A lot of back and forth going on.
Which, by the way, it was fight of night. Absolute banger.
Crazy fight. Moving on, we have Kazula Vargas, who outstruck heavily favored prospect Zhu Wan. Got a great unanimous decision win there.
That was a good fight as well. But Zhu Rong was he had a lot of showmanship. Played a few mind games in the octagon. But like if he was more technical, he probably could have taken that fight. But he was, doing his thing, being entertaining. It was a good on and off fight.
Young kid, only 21 years old, still has a lot left. Then you had a crazy finish from Dana Batgirio. Round 1 TKO made a big statement with the crazy moving away left hook, dropped his opponent, and finished the fight. Look, seeing the fight ended so quickly, didn't take any damage. I say you keep this guy active. UFC 264 card isn't final yet. Las Vegas, sold out crowd. If you're looking for a great fight, put this man in the prelims at least.
Yeah, no, he looked great. Got a lot of potential for him. Hopefully he's scheduled pretty quickly because he put out a great performance. Fought an almost perfect fight. Like you said, hopefully they schedule him for like the July 10th card. A lot of exposure with Conor versus Dustin. Great to see him there.
And that finished all the early prelims. Moving on to the prelims, you had Sabatini got the decision win over Conley. Brendan Allen got a nice ankle lock submission over Carl Roberson. Dwight Grant got a decision win over Stefan Sekulik. Finish out the prelims, you had Randy Brown versus Cowboy Oliveira. Brown dropped Oliveira with a piston-fast right hand, then eventually took his back and finished with a crazy one-arm rear naked choke. It was just one of those nights with amazing finishes from everyone.
And keep in mind, these are just the first fights of the night and the prelims. Like, ton of bangers in this card. We haven't even started in the main card, and there were just so many good fights. And the crowd on top of that was engaged. Usually in a UFC event, the crowd usually doesn't arrive until the main card. Here with the early prelims, you had like about 5,000 to 10,000 people already in the arena ready to go.
Yeah, it was just a crazy night, honestly. What a night for fighting. So moving on to the main card, our first match, we had Anthony Smith versus Jimmy Crute. Carlos, what's your take on it?
So Anthony Smith versus Jimmy Crute. The fight started pretty well, with Anthony Smith coming back, having that terrible loss against Glover Teixeira where he was just mauled for 5 rounds, and a lot of people thought that fight should have been stopped early, a lot earlier than when it was. But with Lionheart's return to this fight, he looked good. He had crisp footwork, he had a solid jab, and he had good leg kicks, as well as Jimmy. Jimmy threw some really good leg kicks, and he was right there with Anthony Smith the whole way. During the first round, though, Anthony Smith landed a really good calf kick on Jimmy Crute that caused some nerve damage, which resulted in him getting a drop foot. Basically, any type of weight he would put on that foot, it would just mangle. Like if he just couldn't put any weight on it. It resulted in him getting dropped, and he actually took down Anthony Smith in the process and actually had a lot of success on the ground. At that point, he took Anthony Smith's back and was delivering some really good ground and pound until the round finished. Unfortunately, though, after the round ended, ref took a really good look at Jimmy Crute. At that point, he brought the doctor in. He tried to see if he can continue by asking him to walk forward and back. Jimmy Crute, being the warrior that he is, he was just like, F it. Like, I could still do this. Let me continue. But at the end of the day, the doctor could not okay the fighter, and the fight ended unceremoniously. That injury reminds me of a fight a long time ago with Cejudo versus Mighty Mouse, the second fight. The injury was similar in the sense that during the beginning of the fight, Mighty Mouse landed a very good leg kick on Cejudo that caused a similar type of injury, similar nerve damage. Had drop foot in his right leg. The only difference is he was able to recover, and as we all know, he eventually won that fight through a 5-round decision. I just think the difference here is that Jimmy Crute's a lot bigger guy. You're talking about more weight and a bigger kick from Lionheart, as big as he is, right? And he just wasn't able to continue. He might have probably recovered if he was able to get 5-10 minutes later on in the night, but unfortunately that's not how it goes. If you're not able to continue after 60 seconds, then the fight cannot continue.
Yeah, look, Jimmy Crute showed tremendous heart. You can tell he wanted to go one more round, regardless of the nerve damage. He was willing to fight through it, but the doctor made the right call and called the fight right there. Look, you hate to see a fight end like that, but that's the fight game for you. Crazy shit happens all the time. All right, so moving on to the next fight, we had Uriah Hall versus Chris Weidman. Unfortunately, with Hall versus Weidman, we had that horrific leg injury, 17 seconds in the very first round. Weidman throws a leg kick, Hall braces for the kick, and the kick connects right on Hall's shin, and his leg just snaps. Hard to watch, hard to really describe. To be honest, we just hope Chris Weidman recovers okay. We all know he was the former champ. He's a tough fighter, nice guy. The good news is he did give an update saying he had successful surgery.
Yeah, it was such a horrific injury to watch. In fact, when we were both watching the fight together, it happened in a flash, right? Like you said, it happened 17 seconds in. I missed it in real time, and it wasn't until the replay, man, when we saw that injury, when what happened when the leg snapped, I could barely watch it personally. Another thing to think about is the insane fact that the same exact injury happened to Silva years ago at UFC 162. It was the second fight between the two. It was with Weidman. It was the second round. Same thing. Silva goes for the leg kick and his shin just shatters in a similar fashion. You hate to see that happen to Weidman, especially, you know, knowing how hard he worked for this fight and to, you know, get a streak going, because he won his previous fight, but he is 1-2 in his last 3 fights. You know, obviously you'd hate to see him go out like that, and Weidman has had such an illustrious career. Some of us think that maybe he should just end it there once he recovers, you know, save yourself for your family. You're 36 years old. You're old. You might be old for the sport, but you're still young for life. But, you know, at the end of the day, Weidman's a man. You know, he can decide whether he wants to continue after that. It's a gruesome injury. Sometimes, a lot of times it's career ending in other sports. It's a 14-month recovery. This is not talking about, you know, any type of active or any type of activity during that 14 months. This is just straight nursing that injury for 14 months. And then on top of that, relearning how to walk with that foot, you know, training with that foot. So Weidman has a long road ahead of him, and he's a warrior, and I know he can come back from that. Whatever he decides to do, I know the fight fans are going to have his back.
Definitely, 100%.
So moving on the card to the first championship fight. Shevchenko versus Andrade. So as far as Shevchenko, I mean, just another masterful performance by her. It was finished via TKO on the ground. She got a crucifix on Andrade and just laid on her with the ground and pound. Finished in the round 2. On top of that, during the first round and the first half of the second round, she was able to get 7 takedowns. I mean, she was just ragdolling Andrade. She was doing whatever she wanted. Andrade had nothing. No answer, absolutely no answer to Shevchenko. Nothing on the feet and the clinch. She could not pick her up. She tried to, you know, pick her up and go for a slam twice to no avail. Shevchenko negated all of that. She did show 0 weaknesses on that fight. She looked phenomenal. She dominated her, and after she finished her and, you know, the ref called it done, called it over, she looked kind of angry. She's almost, not necessarily because she wasn't satisfied with the ending there. She was just like, is this what you got? Like, is this all you have to challenge me with? Is this the, you know, the girl that you built up for so many months saying that, you know, she had power and this and that? Shevchenko's just on another level, man. She's so good compared to other, especially the rest of her division. I mean, she's just going through them just easy. They're just punching her ticket on as far as defenses, just collecting those rubies on her belt. Crazy. She's definitely at the top of the heap in women's MMA. She could possibly be the GOAT, or, you know, second to Amanda Nunes. I would hope to see another rematch in the future between the two. Obviously, you know, Amanda Nunes won the first two, but that second fight was just so razor thin close, man, that it's still debated to this day that Shevchenko won that fight. I just believe we need to finally close the door on that and, you know, get a third fight between the two to complete a trilogy. But we'll see how where it goes from here. I mean, Shevchenko, she can fight against anybody and she'll beat anybody. I don't think there's anybody here in her division or in the UFC for that matter that can beat her, possibly besides Nunes. Oh, and on top of that, I got the call right. Second round TKO.
Okay. I try to tell you, betting man, you can make some serious money, honestly. I don't know why you don't bet.
You're about to find out why, but go ahead.
Okay. I mean, I agree with your take. We both picked Shevchenko in this fight. 7 takedowns in 2 rounds, 5 minutes control time. Again, if your name isn't Amanda Nunes, I don't know anybody who can take out Valentina. Literally, the flyweight GOAT. No more is to be said. I don't think there's anyone that can take her out. It's just another great dominant performance by Shevchenko. Okay, so let's move on to the co-main event. Safe to say we were both wrong. Rose Namajunas just proved to the whole world just how good her elite striking is. Out of all the fights and wars Weili has been in, the back and forth with Joanna, just taking punch after punch, bomb after bomb, who saw one head kick taking her out? I sure as hell didn't. Just a crazy performance from Thug Rose. One round is all she needed. Put some respect on her name. Can't wait for her next one. Carlos, what'd you think of the fight?
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, this is why I don't bet. Because we've both fully expected Weili to take this fight, whether, if it was a early finish, if it was a more drawn out fight, or whether it was through decision. I just didn't expect that flash head kick KO by Rose. I mean, it was amazing. She set it up beautifully too. She faked going through to a leg kick, and there's a switch kick that she went through the guard of Weili. Usually when a head kick lands, fighter has the hand up to guard and it goes around. But this one, she actually cut through her hand, and it was right on the chin, dropped her, and then she finished her on the ground. I mean, just what an amazing performance by Rose. When she's an underdog, I think it's just best not to bet against her, because I have that also really awesome memory when we watched 217. It was almost a similar circumstance where she was fighting Joanna, who at the time was, I believe on 5 defenses. She was en route to beat Ronda Rousey's record, and boom, right in the first round, she drops her with that left hand, and then she eventually finishes her. And just the same emphatic fashion where everybody's just blown away. Joe Rogan's going crazy. His eyes are almost popping out from his head. You and me went nuts. We were just like, holy shit. I mean, that's just Thug Rose, man. She's just, don't doubt her. She's got crazy power, and her on the feet is just, it's so solid. Her movement, her going back and forth was such a tough target for Weili. Weili's main game plan was to go for leg kicks and to, immobilize her eventually. She just had great footwork, going back and forth, was returning leg kicks, set that up, and then just hit the perfect shot with that head kick, split her guard, and knocked her out clean. That being said, though, with respect to Weili, she broke her 21 fight win streak. Weili's only been in the UFC for 3 years? She's already won the belt, she's defended the belt, and now she's lost the belt. So as far as what happens next, I'm hoping to see a rematch. I know it's crazy. She got knocked out in the first round. If you get knocked out in the first round, maybe you don't deserve it. But, just like with Joanna, she also got knocked out in the first round. A rematch was set up, and then there was a more competitive fight, which Rose still won. Comparison here also, Joanna did have more defenses, so that was probably why she got the rematch right away. But as far as right now, who Rose could fight next, you have, I'm not quite sure that they're going to set up a third fight between Joanna, because she won decisively in those first 2 fights. And, another prospect that's coming up, Tatiana Suarez, she's just unfortunately going through so many injuries right now. She's just out of the question for the moment, for the time. So really you have possibly Carla Esparza. Carla Esparza was the first one to beat Rose. I believe that was actually her first fight in the UFC. She submitted her in the 3rd round. So we could possibly see, a redemption fight for Rose. That being said, though, Carla does have a fight upcoming in May on that Rob Font versus Cody Garbrandt card. So maybe if she wins that, Rose might be interested in that. It all depends where maybe Weili's at or with her health. She just obviously just got KO'd. But that being said, those are the options. You have Carla Esparza and you have Weili. And it's very doubtful for another Joanna fight. So I hope to see a Weili fight. I want to see a rematch. I think it'd be more drawn out. It'd be a lot more closer now as far as the betting odds. I think it would probably be a pick'em fight, and I think it would be more drawn out. It would probably go the whole 5 rounds. But what a performance by Thug Rose. Can't wait to see the next fight she's involved with, because anytime Thug Rose fights, it's always crazy. It's always a crazy fight. It's always a banger. So yeah.
All right. So that brings us to the final fight on the card. Main event, Usman versus Masvidal. All the hype, all the build-up. Masvidal has a full camp, clean weight cut, no excuses. How to play out. Round 1, we saw some back and forth. Masvidal was landing some shots, some early leg kicks going on, but that was his game plan throughout the fight. I think he landed 15 throughout the whole fight. Usman had a takedown towards the end of the round, a little fill out round, but Masvidal was doing some work on the bottom of the ground, doing some elbows, trying to get some hits in. So round 2 comes along. Kind of similar, some back and forth trades. Then Masvidal gives off a smile after he lands a shot, and then all of a sudden, it happens so quick. Usman throws a straight right, and you couldn't draw a better picture-perfect straight right on the chin. Masvidal gets laid out, and Usman throws down some hammer fists to finish it off. fight is over and Masvidal is just asleep. Crazy finish, crazy how it all went down. Masvidal just got caught really bad. You know, what happens next after this? Let's take a look at Usman. Usman deserves some family time off. Like he said in an interview, he wants to take his family on a vacation. Well deserved. I mean, I don't see anyone at 170 giving Usman a really big problem. Of course, you have a couple fights at welterweight. You have Nate Diaz versus Leon Edwards. Let's see how that plays out. I don't think Leon Edwards really, he's going to bark for a title fight, but that's probably not going to happen until around end of summertime, maybe around September range. And you also have Nick Diaz, who's rumored to come back. Take that with a grain of salt. Nick Diaz is supposedly in talks with Hamzat. We'll see how that plays out as well. So Usman really isn't in any rush. Now let's take a look at Masvidal. I mean, regroup with your team, recover, take 4 to 5 months off. It was a crazy shot he took. It's kind of hard to watch, especially those hammer fists at the end. But, you know, he has some options, actually. So he just lost to #1 welterweight in the world right now. You know, your ranking doesn't go down that bad. So depending on time frame when Masvidal wants to come back and fight, maybe it aligns well with Nick Diaz. I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. Or if you just want to keep your name out there, see how the Conor fight plays out with Dustin Poirier. You know, Conor looks like he wants to come back to 170. He's talking a lot of mess already to Usman, but a good fight at 170, I take Masvidal and Conor. Two big, both names, sellout crowd. It's worth pay-per-view. And Conor at 170 against Masvidal, I don't know if those shots will hurt Masvidal as much as Usman's shots hurt. So there's options for Masvidal. But other than that, what do you think about the fight, Carlos?
Yeah, it was a great fight. Crazy KO. You know, I'll start off. I got this call wrong as well. You know, my first one that I got wrong was Weili. Now I got Masvidal. But admittedly, you know, this was my Hail Mary for the night. This is the underdog that I thought was going to win. Still in my mind was like, yeah, Usman, he's one of the best, far and above the best welterweight right now. And is on the path to GOAT status, really. I mean, he's probably pound for pound #1 right now. You do still have John Jones, but the fact that he's been inactive for a year, I do believe, you know, when the rankings get updated on Tuesday, that Usman will be #1 pound for pound. You know, just the fact how much he improved his striking game ever since he switched coaches. Now he's with Trevor Whitman. It's exponential progress. It's night and day almost. Even though he did look good against Kobe, you know, he had decent striking. He's still had that at that time, that killer jab. Now though, he just sets up the shots more perfectly. He's a lot slower. You know, that's what Trevor's all about. If you've watched previous fights or previous fighters who have been coached by him, you know, his corner advice is always, hey, slow down, you know, set it up, be methodical, don't go crazy. He just set up that shot perfectly. It was, you know, poetic almost. It was beautiful to watch. It kind of sucks though, because, you know, I am a huge Masvidal fan. Been watching him for a long time, and obviously his comeuppance, you know, was great to witness. And you know, you always want to see that Cinderella story finish with the championship, but you know, when you have a guy like Usman, in my opinion, is probably already one of the greatest of all time right now. He just can't be denied. And you know, going through the fight, it's not like it was just a perfect shot. I mean, it was a perfect shot, but Masvidal was, in my opinion, losing on the feet in the first round as well. I mean, Usman was getting off that jab. He was setting up shots. He tagged him a few times. And, you know, Masvidal being the animal that he is, he just, you know, smiles it off. Even though, you know, sometimes when fighters do that, that's when you know they're hurt. But Masvidal, that's the way he is. Masvidal goes crazy with that knee. And Usman times it perfectly and he takes him down. And something that was hopeful when I was watching the fight is the way Masvidal was able to defend himself off his back. He was, you know, throwing those really good elbows. And eventually that softened up Usman to get him off him. Then he went to the fence, got up through there, eventually, you know, got out, and they separated. But still, I didn't feel like before the knockout that Masvidal was handedly winning on the stand-up, but he was setting up some good leg kicks. But still, you know, Usman looked crisp, and kind of feel like Masvidal didn't take his power seriously. You know, the lead up to the fight, you know, a lot of the promos that were cut, a lot of the interviews, Masvidal was like, you know, Usman, he's the softest guy that I've ever fought, or rather, he's the softest hits he's ever felt. Compared to what we just saw, I mean, that was crazy. Like a truck, a rocket of a right hand to his face. I mean, he punched through Masvidal so much that the sweat that bursted from his head when that shot landed. There's like some crazy freeze frame pictures of that, and it looks like he's got like a solar system of stars around his head. It's crazy, man. It's just unbelievable. And I love the way the shot was set up as well. And I was watching Teddy Atlas on his reaction, and he put it perfectly on how he set up that shot. If you see the way the shot was set up, Usman goes for the left hook and he gets Masvidal's attention with that. Masvidal, he's expecting that hook, and he's also expecting the takedown. So his eyes is going to that left hook, and he was going to give his own check left hook. But by the time, his eyes is focused on that hook, by the time he looked back, I mean, Usman launched that power straight, and it was lights out, man. It's crazy. And another little footnote is the last time Masvidal was knocked out was 2008. Wasn't even in the UFC. It was, I believe, in I'm not sure if it was a Chinese or Japanese promotion, very small promotion, was against Rodrigo Dam. And actually, looking back at that fight, he didn't get KO'd straight away. He got dropped and eventually finished on the ground. The punch was almost exactly the same. I shit you not. If you go back and watch Jorge Masvidal versus Rodrigo Dam 2008, it's almost the same exact punch. Whether Usman and his team went back and said, hey, this is a tendency, let's attack this, or whether it was just coincidence, who knows. But I mean, it was just amazing. As far as where to go from here, with Masvidal, I hear a lot of people saying that, oh, he's finished. There's nothing else he can do. I mean, Masvidal just got caught with a clean shot as well. I mean, he's still very good. He's still one of the best welterweights. His stand-up is still great. He's got a lot of fights that he could, he's still got a lot of fights left in him, I believe. And I believe he could still have another run at the title. I don't know if maybe it's after Usman's reign. Usman has been talking about retirement soon, so maybe after Usman gets another defenses, he calls it quits, and that opens the door. So it just depends on the time frame. Jorge is up there in age, but he's still according to him, he feels good, so he still has great fights. Like you said, Nick, potential rematch with Nate. I would love to see that. Conor, I guess. I mean, that's a prize fight that we'd like to see, but I don't know if
it's a wild card.
I don't know if that'd be competitive. I mean, Conor's great on standing up, right? But just the size difference, the power difference is a whole nother ball game. Which is
a great one for Masvidal. That's what I'm saying.
Sure, and that's why I kind of thought the talk between Conor and Usman was so silly, because it's like,
oh,
the power difference. It's like if he was talking to Ngannou, like, bro, like, you get touched, you're going to sleep.
Yeah, there's no comparison. I don't know what he's smoking on, but no way he's gonna survive a straight right from Usman 170. Forget about it.
Yeah, no way. But as far as Usman, he does have a couple fights I'd like to see him take. Number one, straight away, he needs to rematch Kobe. That's the fight I want to see straight up. Kobe's the number one contender right now. And that fight that we saw between them was one of the best welterweight championship fights I've ever seen. It was very close leading up into the fifth. It was one judge had it 3-1 for Usman, another 3-1 for Kobe, and then the third judge had it tied 2-2. So that was the deciding round. And, as we all know, Usman got the finish and he won. But, that was a close fight. That was probably Usman's biggest challenge so far compared to every other fight he's had. So I would love to see that fight. That fight absolutely needs to happen. But you also have coming up on the next pay-per-view card in Houston, Leon Edwards versus Nate Diaz. Now, depending what happens there, I believe if Leon wins, he gets a title shot probably after Kobe. Now, depends here. If he finishes him in emphatic fashion and he starts campaigning for a title shot, you know how the UFC is. They're going to probably pit him and Kobe against each other. And I don't know if you remember, it's kind of happened before where Kobe was the clear, next challenger. But UFC wanted to play some negotiation games and they had Darren Till. So, they, at the end of the day, Kobe, I guess, just wanted too much maybe in the eyes of the UFC. And they instead give the title shot to Till. That being said, with Leon, if he wins emphatic fashion, I believe, it just depends on the time frame, really. If they make the Kobe fight in the next few weeks, they solidify that, and that's great. If they make the Leon fight, that's great too. But the wild card here is if Nate Diaz beats Leon Edwards, he gets a title shot.
Wait, what?
There's no question. Like, I know, yeah, he does, because I know it's not like
Nate Diaz gonna get a title shot if he miraculously beat Leon with Edwards. He just catches him.
He is. Okay. This is why. If he beats him, because Nate Diaz is a draw, man. He's a draw and a half. And right now, Usman is calling the shots. It's not like the UFC is saying this is the guy you need to face or this is the guy. There's no mandatory, challenger that he has to face. Usman's calling the shots here on who he wants to defend against. That's how he made the Masvidal call. After the Gilbert Burns fight, Masvidal wasn't the clear straightaway, next defense before he called him out. It was still Colby, in my opinion. That should have been the next fight. But Usman wanted Masvidal. He wanted to finish off in emphatic fashion, which he did. So, like I said, if Nate wins that fight, we will see a Nate versus Usman crazy welterweight championship. So, which would be a huge fight. I mean, I know when Nate has been away from the game, he's lost since his last against Masvidal. But if he wins, he'll just be on a one-fight win streak. Colby still is on a one-fight win streak. He's only fought Usman, and then he beat Tyron Woodley, and that's it. So, I mean, if we're talking about win streaks, they could be on the same level if Nate, like I said, Nate has to win for that to happen. Will that happen? I'm not sure. That's for another video. But that's what we got laid out for Usman and Masvidal. But other than that, great fight, exceptional performance by Usman, and a hell of a card. One of the best cards I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's great to hear fans again, back to some normalcy. It was a great night. Can't complain.
Yeah, the crowd, I mean, it's a whole nother level, man. I loved watching fights, in the middle of the pandemic. They were still entertaining, but like I missed the crowd.
Oh yeah,
I missed it. I was so hyped up during the fights, during the Shevchenko fight, and also the Rose and the Rose Zhang and Usman Masvidal. There were times where I had to stand up. I could not sit down because I was just like that hyped up. I had to stand up and walk around. So the energy that brings you it's something else, and it gives you a high that I don't know, I can't describe really. That's why, in my opinion, MMA is the best sport in the world.
Please comment below, tell us which fight was your favorite. Make sure to subscribe, follow our social media account, ask us any questions you have. See you in the next video.
Bye guys.